Hello and welcome to the Week 5 Battlecast for the Minnesota Eon Twins. I'm your coach, Joseph. Welcome all fellow coaches and other followers of the Reddit Battle League. I'm going to be taking you through the match that we had in Week 5, our first of two Toronto matches back-to-back. This one with the Toronto Chesnaughts and their coach, PlatsonJiveMoney. So yeah, this is a match happened a while ago now, I guess 4 or 5 days ago, since I'm recording it to when the match happened, so I'll do my best to remember exactly what happened. The other interesting thing with this match is it happened around the time when we were taking an extra week due to the July 4th holiday and some people not being around. So I built this team almost 2 weeks ago now, so it's going to be a little bit of an adventure trying to remember exactly what I was building and what I was thinking in each of the sets that you'll see. But first, like always, we'll go through the team that we're facing up against. This is Week 5. Both teams are coming in at 3-1, I believe. I believe Platson is 3-1, was 3-1 as well. And the Eon Twins are 3-1. If you've been following, we didn't have a Week 4 recap because it was just busy. That was around the holiday time as well. But yeah, let's see his team here. And so the Toronto Chesnaughts, in my opinion, have one of the greatest drafts in Flair this season. They have an awesome core and just great supporting mons as well. They have one main drawback, as you'll see throughout, as I kind of noticed, and I'll point out throughout if you haven't noticed it already. And so the team is obviously awesome because it has Mega Venusaur, which is one of my favorite megas, and makes just a bulky core both offensively and defensively with a lot of other things. And he paired it up perfectly with Heatran, which is about the best pair that you can make. They complement each other almost perfectly with resistances and weaknesses. So there's really not much that you can do to that core. If you want a flying or psychic type to hit super effectively, the Heatran can come in and resist it. So meanwhile, Venusaur can take all water and ground type attacks very well. He pairs it up, this awesome core, with one of the best Pokemon in OU as Landorus T, with Intimidate, Stealth Rocks, U-Turn, Knockoff, Earthquake. It's got about everything that you would want, and it makes a really good core. And then he pairs it up with one of the best Pokemon in UU and Melodic, which is obscenely bulky. As you can see, this first set of 4 Pokemon are obscenely bulky, with great water type stab, great recovery, good abilities, great stats, health, defense, special attack stats. Just makes it really hard to take down, especially with Marvel Scale. Follows this up with Scrafty, which is one of my favorites, but hasn't seen a great deal of league use since about Season 1, Season 2 of the RBL. But it can be really threatening, especially with Dragon Dance. Anything that gets Dragon Dance is threatening. It's got some other great abilities as well, so it can be a little bit tricky because you never know what's going to come. He has Espeon, which is another one of my favorites, and is very important to this team because if you haven't noticed so far, his team is incredibly slow. Very bulky, very powerful, but very slow as well. So Espeon brings that base 110 speed that's kind of essential to taking some of those faster threats that the other team might have, as well as just limiting how much you can speed creep, or how much EVs you can take out of your speed stat and put into other areas. In his lower tier picks, he has a little bit of a sun potential with Ninetales. Ninetales is very useful, high special defense, good speed at 100, I believe. It brings the sun. Drought isn't banned, so you can bring that auto sun if you want to. It could be useful on this team with Mega Venusaur. If you have a Chlorophyll Venusaur to start, obviously boosts up Heatran's fire type attacks as well, so it can be useful in that way. Electivire is very interesting. I had it last season. It's got base 95 speed, which kind of holds it back a little bit along with its defenses. It's not quite as hard hitting, strong as you would think but it's really good. It's got good coverage, and it has volt switch potential. Golbat's an interesting pick. We all know Fat Bat with Eviolite is pretty strong as a defensive wall. He's already got some other defensive Pokemon, so I doubt that this will be a very big, impactful mon in this battle, but you never know. And then he rounds out his draft with Lapras and Murkrow, followed by Mandibuzz, and those are just some good kind of useful niche picks, especially Murkrow with Prankster can do some funky things if you're not prepared for it. And then Mandibuzz gives him his only option to, well, I guess Golbat can get Defog as well, and maybe Murkrow. So there's a few options, I guess, of defogging, getting rid of stones and other hazards, but Mandibuzz is important in that way for his team. And just bringing a little bit of a different option and some flying stab as well. And so yeah, that's this team. It's one of my favorite teams in the draft, but I feel like my team matched up very well with it, and so I was pretty confident going into the battle, at least after I'd prepped. Like I said, it's relatively slow, and he tends to bring the first 4 or 5 Pokemon almost every week. So really you have to focus on prepping for those. I mean, who wouldn't bring that? That's an awesome, starting core to build around. But, that gives us a little bit of a advantage in team building, maybe, if we know what's coming. So going into the team now that I brought, we start out with our captain, the cool kid, Mega Scissor, starting with Technician, going to Technician when it Mega Evolves. So the moveset that we brought is designed to kind of counter a lot of his counters, I guess, to Scissor. So we brought Bullet Punch because the priority is great. Just for cleaning up games if you need to. There's a couple things that might outspeed, specifically, a Dragon Dancing, Scrafty, the Espeon, other things like Mega or Landorus T has base 91 speed, so it could outspeed us as well since we only get up to 75. So the Bullet Punch is important for maybe picking off or putting on some extra pressure and damage on those. Superpower and Aerial Ace. So Superpower is great in this matchup because it limits the effectiveness of Heatran against Scissor. And Heatran, I think, has base 78 speed, I want to say. So by adding a little bit of speed investment, we can potentially outspeed it since they generally don't run a ton of speed, and there's nothing really that he would need to speed creep from there on my team. So I added a fairly significant amount of speed investment, about 100 points, which will get me, I think, 3 to 5 points, so 98, I forget what it gets to when he Mega Evolves, but like 3 or 5 points above, just in case he decides to speed creep by a couple points. So hopefully if he brings in the Heatran, I can surprise it with a superpower, and barring the appropriate berry, whatever it is, Chople Berry or whatever, I can knock it out in just one easy hit with my Adamant Max Attack Mega Scissor. So that would be really cool, kind of pick up a surprise KO if possible. Aerial Ace is going to be helpful for taking down Mega Venusaur. It does about 60 to 70% just normally with Technician boosting max attack against a regular like offensive Mega Venusaur. So with Swords Dance I can easily take that out. Same with the defensive one. The Swords Dance turns it from a 2-hit KO into an OHKO. So that's going to be important, and I can even take a Hidden Power Fire. It does 70 to 80% from a offensive Mega Venusaur, I believe. So I can take one and hit back pretty hard with an Aerial Ace and really bring that down to either Bullet Punch or Aerial Ace KO range. Mega Venusaur reaches base 80 speed, so with my little bit of speed investment, I also outspeed that by a couple points after Mega Evolving, and so hopefully I can get a couple surprise things there, barring some speed investment on his part. So that could be really cool going on. So that's our first one. Next up is Tonic the Vaporeon, Scald, Toxic Wish, and Heal Bell. I don't have Protect because I wanted this set basically to take on Melodic if I needed to. So if Melodic has just Ice Beam and Scald, I can't touch Tonic at all, and I don't really need Protect. If it wants to Toxic me, I'll have Heal Bell, and I can Toxic back. Melodic doesn't get any sort of curing moves like Heal Bell or Aromatherapy or Refresh, maybe? I don't know what else. So if I can poison it, I can kind of stall it a little bit and make it at least switch out, hold the Toxic. And otherwise, I can just be a little bit more aggressive with my wishing and attacking. So, sometimes I struggle with Vaporeon and its 4 move slot syndrome. And so this week I decided to leave off Protect, and we'll see how that works out for us. Otherwise, it's a max defensive. It's not going to be taking on Mega Venusaur, so no real need for special defense. Yeah, and Heatran can't do anything to it anyway. Everything is resisted for the most part. So this should work out well for walling a couple of the Pokemon that I'm expecting him to bring. The next step is Eon Duck. Our Porygon 2, rocking Discharge, Ice Beam, Psychic, Recover. We need Psychic to hit through Thick Fat on the Mega Venusaur. Ice Beam, Discharge to get some paras. Ice Beam to hit the Landorus T. Discharge can hit, I guess, all of those flying types. So he's got a few Golbat, Murkrow, Mandibuzz, as well as it'll hit Lapras and Melodic for super effective damage. Maybe get a para and help with some little bit of that yellow magic throughout the battle. And then Recover to just keep our health up. Trace to get some opposing abilities, especially Intimidate, so we can intimidate back the Landorus T if we need to. And then Eviolite, max special defense, will help us take on the Mega Venusaur, obviously. So that'll be important in that regard. Kind of get a switch in if we need to get out of there with one of our other Pokemon. So next up we have Catastrophe, the Hydreigon. Now Catastrophe is going to be, hugely important in this match. If you didn't notice, he doesn't actually have a Fairy type, so I can easily bring a nice Choice Specs Timid Hydreigon with max attack investment, high speed investment, allows me to outspeed everything up to an adamant Electivire. That's what it is. And the only other thing I'd really be worried about is if he has, for some reason, like a Scarfed Landorus T could possibly outspeed us, barring things that are faster than us, like Espeon. I think Espeon and Ninetales are the only things that are naturally faster otherwise. So this thing can come in and I can basically click Dragon Pulse, Draco Meteor. If Heatran is still around, I can hit it with Earth Power. Really, there's nothing that's going to want to take 2 of those. So this is going to be pretty much whenever I can bring it in, I can get a KO, which will be really awesome. I mean, even Melodic doesn't like taking Choice Spect Dragon Pulses that much, so thankfully it's not Mega Melodic as a Fairy type yet. We'll see if that ever happens, but that really helps out in this match. A little bit about the EVs. I guess I explained it. Enough speed to outspeed things. A little bit of extra in the defenses to keep Stealth Rock damage down, whatnot, yada yada. Next up is Pepper, Expert Belt we're bringing a specially offensive one, so Timid, almost max special attack, and the rest in HP. I think that I left a couple out because it doesn't matter at level 50, so that's kind of helpful. It gives me some little bit more to put into speed and HP. I don't know why I have 4 remaining. I guess I could have thrown that in somewhere, but it didn't end up mattering. So yeah, especially offensive, so I can bring, I don't even know if I needed, I guess specially offensive is just generally better. I guess the interesting thing in this set is I brought Hidden Power Ground to hit Heatran for doubly super effective damage, since it's quad weak to ground. Barring the berry, it should pretty much knock it out almost every time, especially with Expert Belt. Psychic Grass Knot hits Landorus fairly hard. If it switches in, it hits Melodic for super effective damage, and with Expert Belt, I think we can 2-hit KO it. Again, I built this team a while ago, so I don't remember exactly. Enough speed to outspeed, I think, a Timid Landorus T. That's basic. I think that's what that speed hits. Yeah, 155. That sounds about right anyway. So yeah, Blue Flare is just going to be awesome. It's very powerful attack. We can back it up with Psychic. There's nothing really on his team that wants to take that too well. Yeah, even in switch-ins, and so that's kind of nice. And then last but not least, one of the most important members on our team this season, Alias the Crobat, rocking the sharp beak with Infiltrator. So we obviously have U-Turn and Brave Bird, the two main attacks, and then we followed up with Defog and Roost. Since he doesn't have a fairy type and his grass type resists poison type attacks, there's no real need to rock a poison type move. Super Fang is always an option, but no need for Giga Drain this week either. So we can just, I actually had an extra move slot here for once. I thought about Tailwind a little bit, but his team is so slow anyway that I don't really need it. So we just have Defog if we need to get rid of rocks at any point, which obviously it always helps out Pepper and reduces residual damage on everything else. And then Roost to keep us a little bit more healthy if we're taking some big Brave Bird damages. Since his team is so slow, I ran a little bit of a risky kind of set EV spread this week. So we're actually running Adamant max attack with enough speed. 162 should outspeed the Electivire, I want to say. I think that gets up to like 161 if it's Adamant. Again, I'm not expecting him to run Jolly because my team is generally faster, at least the things that he would want to hit. So there's no real need for him to try. There's nothing really below that he would have to be outspeeding either. So it's kind of stuck in a little gray area. Anyway, so I'm running that much speed, which is kind of a little bit risky if he brings one of his faster Pokemon. I might have to make a little bit of interesting reads throughout the battle, but we'll see anyway. So obviously Brave Bird hits everything on his team very hard except for the Heatran. As you can see, Heatran's going to be coming in and taking a lot of hits. It doesn't have good recovery, so hopefully I can wear that out throughout the match. And then U-Turn gives us a little bit of, switch initiative to get out into what we want, since we have Tonic and Eon Duck that can eat up hits pretty well, hopefully. So yeah, that's about it for the team builder this week. So we can get into the game replay now. Looks like I have everything put. Let's play it at normal rate. So looking at his team that he brought this week, he brings his first 6 Pokemon. So, OUUU right here. I guess that's pretty much what we prepped for. It's kind of what we were expecting. So as we can see, hopefully Catastrophe can put in the work and everything else can work out about how we would like it to. Yeah, let's play this and see what happens here. So I would lead out. Again, it's been a while, so I don't exactly remember. I lead out with Alias. I was contemplating leading out with the Eon Duck in case he send out Landorus first, so that I could get the Intimidate back on him and then threaten him out possibly with an Ice Beam, but I decided to go a safe route with my U-Turner, Alias. So I get my attack lowered, and then I decide to just go for the U-Turn obviously right away. Switch out here into Eon Duck. I Intimidate him back. We don't see any... Oh, there's the Leftovers. So we see Leftovers, we know he's not Scarf, which is kind of nice for some of our other Pokemon. He stays in, goes for the knockoff as I hit him with a giant Ice Beam, which is awesome. We've now knocked this down to the point where we can take it out with a lot of different things. So here he switches into... Pause at a perfect moment. He switches out into Melon to take the resisted Ice Beam hit. I could have gone for a Psychic here, I guess, but I guess there's no real need to do that. He probably guesses that I'm running, the normal set of Discharge Ice Beam, so this is a pretty good switch for him. Hey, this is my kitty. Bye, Pan. Being very friendly. So he takes the resisted Ice Beam, and this is where the match kind of changes for a big part. So he gets frozen on this, and so I'm thinking it's not a huge deal because he's got Marvel Scale probably, maybe competitive since he knows I might bring Defog. I Is it competitive? Yeah, I think it's competitive. But here he continues to be frozen as I just go for discharges because there's no real reason for me not to. If he wants to bring something else that resists, I might get a para. If he wants to bring in Landorus, I can KO it with an Ice Beam. But he should have Scald, because almost every melodic runs Scald. So, kitty video. But he doesn't ever go for Scald, and as you can see in the chat on the side, he obviously is kind of frustrated that he didn't thaw out, which, I mean, I don't know what the percentage is for thawing, but it always doesn't work out how you want it to. So I asked if he had Scald, and he just thought that he says that he forgot that it unfreezes, which is kind of a big, deal in this battle, because now Melodic, one of his big walls, is completely down. So, that's really nice for my team, I guess. At least for Scissor especially. Now there's nothing really that, at least with the set that I brought, that wants to take on my Scissor very well. So he goes out into his Scrafty here, which is a great switch. I go out into Tonic and take a knockoff, so there go my leftovers. Kind of a bummer, because I don't have Protect, so now it's going to be a little bit harder for me to get health back, but I can, fire off a Wish anyway and switch out into Eon Duck. That's what I go out into. See, what I can take. So I can take his hits very well. And now I can threaten him out with a Psychic or something, but he predicts that very well and goes back out into his Scrafty, now threatening me out again, and this is going to just kind of... Oh, I didn't even switch out there, so I forgot that. I guess I just left it in because I didn't want to switch out, but this gives me my free switch into Alias, which means I can get off a big Brave Bird on just about anything. So there we go, get off about even 30% with a Sharp Beak. That's pretty good against... probably what's a defensive Heatran, possibly. Maybe it's offensive. I don't know what he's running, honestly. But I can just go out into Tonic because I resist everything. I can get off a Wish and hopefully get some of my health back and scare him out with a Scald, obviously. So again, this kind of bites me in the butt that I'm not running Protect. Because I can't just stay in and Protect, so I go out into Alias, which kind of works out. I can get off a big... But this is the point now. I wasn't exactly expecting him to bring his Espeon in this match. But I wasn't running enough speed, if you remember, to outspeed Espeon. So this is, going to be a little bit of a risky turn, because if he just goes straight up for a Psychic or something, I'm going down, and, Alias has always been one of our biggest players. So this is, a little bit of a mind game. Do you go for Psychic, or do you expect me to switch out into Hydreigon to take the Psychic, or what do you do? So I decide to stay in and go for the U-turn, as he goes for the Dazzling Gleam, luckily. So he predicted the switch. I got a little lucky. I got a slow U-turn. As you can see, he's a little... he realizes that he missed the prediction in the chat there, which, works out for me, but it was pretty even. It could have gone either way. So I just kind of got a little lucky on that, especially since I kind of needed that around. So here I've gotten behind now. As you can see, let's go back up in the chat. Let's see, he switches out into his Mega Venusaur. Let's see. Yeah, I use U-turn. I U-turn out into Scissor, yeah, because that'll allow me to pick him off with a U-turn, or not a U-turn, a Bullet Punch, if he doesn't switch in. So yeah, I go for a Bullet Punch while he switches out into Mega Venusaur. He watched this, I was busy talking and got a little lost, so I do about 30% there. Then he Mega Evolves and I get off an Aerial Ace, which, as I expected, did about 60 to 70%. As he goes for a Hidden Power Fire, which I survive as I expected to. So I can just go for another Aerial Ace because we've seen I'm a little faster. Venusaur doesn't gain any speed upon Mega Evolving, I don't believe. That's good on my side. He switches out into his Heatran and I can catch it with my Surprise Superpower, which is awesome. Now he goes out into OG, which means he's probably going to get a KO, so I decide to sack off Tonic here because it's not doing a lot for the rest of the match. And I can take the Moxie, you can have your Moxie. I'll just go out into Alias, and now he has nothing that wants to take a Brave Bird, so Sharp Beak Brave Bird can take it right on down. So I'd gotten rid of both checks, which is really nice. He saw that he was faster earlier and goes with a psychic to take me out. I don't know this at the time, but he's actually scarfed, which I realize right now when he switches out. He goes into your fire, so I can just KO that with a blue flare. Everything on his team dies to a blue flare at this point. Actually, everything on his team dies to a bullet punch at this point. If I don't know if I survive after rocks. I think it's close. No, definitely go down after rocks. That's why. So that's actually important that I'm able to survive his scarfed Espeon's Shadow Ball, because if it was Specs and I had just been, outslowing it with my silly Crobat set, it could have been a little bit of a big deal. But I survive and I'm able to take out the last two because I have enough speed to outspeed his Landorus, since it looked like he was some sort of defensive thing anyway. Even after the battle, I couldn't figure out exactly what happened or what his sets were. Again, the freeze thing was kind of a big deal because it allowed me to take down one of his big walls that, could have been in and out the entire battle wearing my team down. I guess something that was a little bit positive on my side is that could counteract that is that I didn't even have to use Hydreigon because Melodic went down, so it never even came in at all. So, as much as I was hoping that Hydreigon would come in and just get a ton of KOs, the rest of the team picked up the slack and did it without the need of our big hitter. So that was really a nice battle overall. I gave the MVP to this match to the cool kid, our Mega Scissor, because it took down a lot of, big threats. It dealt a ton of damage to Mega Venusaur, scared out the Espeon, knocked out the Heatran, and just was a really big player, even though Pepper picked up the last 3 KOs. It's kind of that helped break down the walls. Just really everything on the team, I guess, except Hydreigon, was really useful in this match. So it was a lot of fun. The Eon Twins moved to 4-1, with a pretty good differential. I think we're plus 10. The Toronto Chesnaughts fall to 3-2. They still have a pretty good differential as well. And PlatsonJiveMoney will be back. He's got a good team. He's a good player. But this just really helps us in our hunt for the playoffs. I think that's about it for this video. So that is the Minnesota Eon Twins and Joseph signing off. I'll see you next week. Bye.